Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Today's daf is daf Yud Beis. We start from the very first line on top. Mi have Hashem and Mishcha. Was there really Hashem and Mishcha? Rashi says, B'imei Yochaz. Yeah, it says that Yochaz, he was nimshach because of Yoakim. So the Gemara asks, Yochaz was the end of Bayis Rishon. And the end of Bayis Rishon, we know that the Hashem and Mishcha was hidden at that point by Yeshayahu HaMelech. Vatanya, Sto Abraisa, Mishenignas Oron, when they hid the Oron, Nignas Shem and Mishcha, V'tzinsenes Amon, and the jar of Mon from the Midbar, Makla Shel Aaron Shkedaf Rechel, and the Makal of Aaron with all the almonds and the flowers. Argos, Shesholcha Plushim Dar Yisrael, plus there was the Argos, the box that the Plishtim sent as a gift to Klal Yisrael when they took the Aron, and they had a lot of tzaros from the Aron, hemorrhoids and whatnot, and so they sent it back. So they sent it back with a gift, an Argos. Shenemar, so you see that the Argos was always in the side of the Aron, and that was hidden as well. Asks the Gemara, Mi Gnaza Yeshayahu Melech Yehuda Gnaza. Who hid it? It was Yeshayahu, the king of Yehuda. Shirosh Kosav Yoel Hashem Oischos Malkecha. Hashem said that he's going to exile Klal Yisrael Tzivu Gnazum. So he understood that very shortly Klal Yisrael is going to go to Golus. He opened the Sefer Torah and he saw the pasuk was a pasuk that talked about Golus, and he understood that if he doesn't hide it, it's going to fall into the hands of Zarim, of strangers. And he didn't want that to happen. So Shenemar vayomer lalavim amevinim l'chol Yisrael hakadoshim l'Hashem tenu asaroin hakodesh babayis asher bona shloime bedov melech Yisrael. Yeah, please hide it in a place where Shlomo HaMelech had prepared when he first built the Beis HaMikdash. In lechem masa bakosef, because if you're not going to hide it, you're going to end up carrying it on your shoulders from Eretz Yisrael to Golus. Atu ivda shem l'kechem es Amma Yisrael. And now that you don't have an Aron to carry, you'll be able to work and serve Hashem. Ba'omer Rabbi Elazar says, Asya Sham Sham, Asya Mishmeres Mishmeres, Asya Dairis Dairis. Yeah, we learn a Gzeir Shava that he hid not just the Aron, but also the Tzintzenes Hamon. From Sham Sham, it says Sham by the Aron. It also says Sham by the Tzintzenes Hamon. It's 10 Sham Maloya Aimer. And Makla Shel Aaron is Mishmeres Mishmeres. And finally, the Shem and Mishcha, it's Dairis Dairis. So, what do you see from Miracle upon him? This whole Bryce is brought for one reason and one reason only, to prove that at the time of Yochaz, there was no more Shem and Mishcha. There's no more Shem and Mishcha. So how did he become anointed with the Shemen? It wasn't Taka the Shemen HaMishcha, it was pure balsam oil, Lafarsamin. It wasn't the Shemen HaMishcha of Moshe Rabbeinu. Ton Rabbana Kate said, how do you anoint kings with the Shemen? Yeah, what do? It's Kimin Nezer. You put it around his head like a crown. V'sakanim Kimin Ki. And the Kahanim is Kimin Ki. My Kimin Ki. What's Ki? Nashi Bagad the Kimin Chaf Yevani. It's like a Chaf Yevani. Yeah, big machlek is exactly what Chaf Yevani is, but some say it's an X. It's an X on the forehead, from the top of the head until between the eyes. We'll see right now. Tana. Chada. We learned one brayso. But Chila Motzkin Shemen al Roishai. Chakach Nos the Shemen Berisa Einov. First, they would pour Motzkin Yitzikas pouring some of the Shemen on his head, and then you would put it between the eyes. And some say, another Bryce says fakert. First they would put it ben risa einov, and then you would pour it on his head. So the Gemara says, which way was it? Was it first pouring on his head and then ben risa einov, or was first ben risa einov and then you poured it on the head? Tanoi, it's a machlokes tanam. Ikdar mashiach adif, ikdar mitzik adif. Some say mashiach is adif, and therefore you put it first between his eyes. And some say Yitzika is adif, therefore you poured it first on his head. My time demanda Yitzika adifa. How does he know that Yitzika pouring it on the head is more important, is more chashuv? The chsiva Yitzoik Mishem Ramishcha Rosh Aaron Vayimshach Oisa Lekadeshai. So when Moshe Rabbeinu anointed Aaron, it says first Yitzika, and then it says Mashiach. So you see, Yitzika is more important. The man the Omer Mashiach Adifa My Taima. Why does he hold fakert? Why does he hold Mashiach Adifa? Because Klei Hasharis, that was Niskadish with Mashiach, not with Yitzika at all. What is he going to do with the pasuk when Moshe Rabbeinu anointed Aaron? It says first Yitzika, and after it says Vayimshach. Says the Gemara Chikamer, my tam Vayitzoik mishum de Vayimshach. It doesn't mean that he first poured it on his head, which was the Yitzika. The reason why he did Yitzika was because he first did the Mashiach. That's after read the pasuk. So really, he holds Mashiach was always first. Klei Sharas only had Mashiach, and by Aaron the Mashiach was first. Okay. We have a brisa. Tanu Rabbanan. Kashemen hatoiv yored alazokin zakana haroin. Yeah. Pasuk in Tehillim, it says that the oil dripped down onto the beard of Aaron HaKohen. Says the Gemara, the brisa, kemin shnei tipim margolias. It was like two drops of diamonds. It was in the shape of diamonds. That's what Aaron had in his beard. When Aaron HaKohen was talking with other people, and he talked a lot, right? Aaron is oyev shulam v'roidev shulam. He would tell this guy, the other guy wants to make shalom, and so on and so forth. This is what Aaron HaKohen would do. He would talk people into peace for a living. When he would talk to other people, so those drops, magically, miraculously, I should say, they ascended back to the roots of the beard, to the flesh of his skin. Maybe I poured too much, that's why there's left over in his beard, or maybe I touched it. However, the Rishonim learned what the chashash of Me'ila was over here, but either way, he was worried. Just like the dew of the mountains of Cherem in Eretz Yisrael doesn't have Me'ila. There's no Me'ila, you have nothing to worry about Moshe. Maybe I was Moil. So for that, Yatsa Baskal Amruloi, there was no problem with Me'ila. Tonu Rabbanon, says the Gemara, you only give Mashiach, you only do Mashiach, you anoint kings only by the Mayan. Yeah, by a stream. It's a siman toiv. What's the siman toiv by Ma'ayin? So that their malchus never stops. Just like a stream flows constantly, so too when you're Moshech, malchus beis David, you want to give them, you want to put them next to a Mayan as a siman toiv that the melucha should never stop. Shenemar vayomer amelech lehem k'chu imochem es avdei adonechem v'uradtem oisei el gichoin. Gichoin was the name of a Mayan, and he asked that Shlomo Melech should be anointed by Gichoin, by the Ma'ayin, because that was a good simon. Person wants to know if he's going to live out the year. Yeah, the next year. We're holding before Rosh Hashanah right now. People, we're going to ask, yeah, people want to have another year of life. So if you want a simon, how will you know that you're going to live out the year? Says the Gemara, Naslei Shiraga Ba'asore Yoyim de Ben Shalom Kippurim. Take a candle between Shalom Kippur, Sesame Tshuva, Bavesed Lanashav Zika, in a house that there's no wind, there's no outside wind coming in. Im Mashach Nahire, if the candle doesn't blow out, Neida the Masik Shate, then you would know that he's going to live out the year again. So you put in enough oil for it to last 10 days, put in a room without any wind, and you see if it lasts. Somebody wants to know if he's going to matzliach in his business. The Rabbi Tanagoyle should raise a Tarnagoyle shaman v'shaper matzlich. If it gets fattened and it's improved, then it's a simon that he's going to be matzliach. And if not, I guess it's a simon that he's not going to be matzliach. Person wants to travel. He wants to know if he will come back home. In those days, for sure, you didn't know, right? You traveled, no emails, no WhatsApp. There was just overseas, anything can happen. Pirates, waves, weather. So it was very uncertain. He wanted to know whether he's safe to travel. So what should he do? Nekem beves dechavra. He should stand in a kind of semi-dark room. Yichazi bevua de bevua. And if you could see the shadow of his shadow, later the Hadavas Labesa, so I'll know that he's going to come back home. He's going to come back home safely. Vlav Milsi says the Gemara. This last one is garnished. Why? Because Dilma Cholsha Daita Misra Mazali. Maybe sometimes he's going to be very anxious. Yeah, he's going to do the simon, and he's not going to see a shadow of his shadow, and he's going to be so anxious that the anxiety itself will lead him to worsen his mazel. It'll be almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that itself will bring him to a sakana. It's an amazing Gemara. It's an amazing Gemara. Gemara says that your anxiety can lead to tragedy. A person is anxious and always worried. That itself can bring a tremendous bad mazel. And therefore, don't do the simon, because if you do the simon, it's not necessarily that you're not going to come back home safely. You might come back home safely. Yeah. But what's going to lead you to not come back home safely is the fact that you're going to be anxious and be afraid. Good evening, doctor. Wow. Here we have Abaya Yimamish. It's unbelievable that it's the daf very, very close to Rosh Hashanah, because this is what we do, Mamish on Rosh Hashanah. Amr Abaya, Dafid Beizem Aleph. Hashta de Amrit Simonim Milsihi. Now that we're talking about Simonim Toivim, because the Gemara said that you should always anoint a king next to a Mayan, next to a stream, because the Simon Toiv, the stream never stops, the Malchus will never stop. So the Gemara says, Hashtu de Amrit Simonim Milsi la'olam yeirogel mechze berashata. You should always see to it that he has on Rosh Hashanah kara verubia karta v'silka v'tamri. All these different simonim that we eat, because their names point to all the besudas toivus that we want. The Svardim are very big on that, right?
My wife, every year when my husband was alive, she was called Lubia Karti.
That's right. That's right.
Since we saw the YouTube picture of the black-eyed peas with the little bugs coming out of it,
stopped eating that?
we had to stop. We asked our union says you could just look at it and have it there without eating it.
Wow. Wow.
And
You know,
once she saw that YouTube picture 3 years ago,
yeah.
and the guy took a little knife, opened up the black spot in the back of the tree. He lost all appetite.
That's actually funny. You know, when I was in high school, so we had one guy, every Rosh Hashanah, he would put out bananas.
Yeah.
At every place, every seat would have bananas. And he would get up on a chair and yell out, Yiratzin shi banana besamikdash b'meira b'yameinu.
How about the raisins?
The raisins and salaries. Yeah, we have all these kinds of. I grew up Hasidish, so in my home we spoke Yiddish. So I have my own personal semen. I put a glass of water next to me, and I say, Yiratzin shi yavaser lanu b'seiras toivus. Vaser is water, yavaser lanu b'seiras toivus. Okay, everybody has their own. Whole discussion over here. Yeah, whole discussion over here in the Mefarshim. What happened to Loisa Nachashu? Isra of Loisa Nachashu, that you're not allowed to believe in superstitions. Yeah? So why is there no Isra Nechash over here? Yeah, the ganze din of Meshichas Malachim by Mayan. Yeah, over here, you do Simonim, you're going to come back home, you're not going to come back home. Yeah, Simonim is not a Jewish way. It's not a Torah. Huh?
It's not. You're thinking like a black cat walking on the ladder. These are related to Goyish practice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's yeah. Anyway, Marsha points out over here that the simon that we do is a simon to be oila yafa, but
we don't put our bitachon on the simon.
You don't believe in the tzadara. In other words, if the simon doesn't work, then you believe in the tzadara. It's only a nechash is only if I flip a coin and if it's heads, then it's good. If it's tails, it's no good. And you believe in either tzad equally, that's loisa nachashu. But if you just have a coin and you believe in a tzad toiv, That's nothing. That's okay.
Similar to the mice of Elio, of the Yom when he went to get work with Yitzchak, he made a t'nai.
Yeah.
She comes and offers,
Yeah.
and he knows this is going to be the proper,
Oh, yeah. Made a simon. Yeah.
and also by
That's right.
two other, the Gemara brings out three examples.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're up to Mirz Hashem. Right now, we're up to Amulur of Meshashai Lebrei. Meshashai said to his son, Kibisa Meila Migmar Kamera Baichu. Oh, Reb Shaul, Shalom Aleichem. Meshashai said to his son, we're around 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 lines from the bottom of Bezim Aleph right now. Amulur Meshashai Lebrei. Kibisa Meila Migmar Kamera Baichu. When you want to go in and learn by your Rebbe, Garsu Masnisa V'olu L'Kamera Baichu. First learn well the Mishnayos. Prepare. Hachona, do Hachona Sashir, prepare, and then go to learn from your Rebbe. V'chiasvisu Kamei, and when you sit in front of him, Chazul Pumei, take a good look at his face. Tichsiv V'hoyu Einecho, Royos Esmerecha. V'chigarsisu, and when you review what your Rebbe taught you, Girsu Al Nahara Demaya. Make sure you review it by a river. Just like there's a flow from the water, so your learning will flow naturally, it'll never stop. It's better to live in the lower class neighborhoods of Mata Mechasya than to live in the upper class neighborhoods of Pompadisa. Why? Because Mata Mechasya, there were more Talmidei Chachamim. So better live in a smaller apartment amongst Talmidei Chachamim than live in a very beautiful place when they're lesser Talmidei Chachamim. Tov Gildena Sarya de Mata Mechasya Lameichel. I love you too. Tov Gildena Sarya de Mata Mechasya Lameichel Mikutcha Darom Yikipei. It's better to eat fish that's almost going bad, but it's still not bad, than to eat something Kutcha Darom Yikipei. To eat something that has all the preservatives and the chemicals on it, even though it's a healthy food, but they mix in so much stuff. Yeah, Maha. Yeah, you got to make it healthy again. So kids, we don't eat that stuff. So the Gemara, Roma Karni Ba'Hashem. Chana, when she was mispalel for her son, she said Roma Karni Ba'Hashem. Roma Karni v'le Roma Pachi. Yeah, she was misnabe that her son will reach greatness or will be in charge of distributing greatness through a keren, not through a pach. Why? David Shloim Shenim Shechu Bekeren. When they were poured the Shavan and Mishcha on them, they had Shavan and Mishcha poured onto them. It was through a keren, through a horn of a behemoth, Nimshechu Malchusan. So there, the Malchus was Nimshach. Sha'ul v'yehu, Shenimshechu b'pach, lo Nimshechu Malchusan. So the Gemara, Mashiach b'Shavan HaMishcha, Ton Rabbanan. HaMashiach says, Makoyin Mashiach Yachto, Yochel Melech. I would have thought that Mashiach is referring to a king. Tamad Loimer Koyin. It says, Koyin Mashiach. I Koyin, Yochel Meruba B'Godim. I would have thought any Kohen Gadol, even in Bayis Sheni, was no Shaman HaMeshcha. Tamid Loimer Mashiach, so you need both. In Mashiach, if it would just would have said those two, I would have thought, Yochel Mashiach Melchama. Right? The Mashiach Melchama was the guy who was in charge of boosting the morale of Klal Yisrael as they went to war. Tamid Loimer V'Koyin HaMashiach. It has to be the Kohen HaMashiach, not Mashiach Melchama, She'ein HaMashiach Al Gabov. Yeah, the Ha-Kohen, the Hayediyah, is the Kohen HaMashiach. The Mashiach Melchama Agam, he is a Kohen HaMashiach also, but he's not the Kohen HaMashiach. So that's the Hey in the HaKohen HaMashiach. Gemara says, My Mashma, how do you know that when it says a Hey, it means a Kohen that nobody more is more important than him? Like Rava said, by the Isra of Gidanosha, Rabbi Yehuda said, yeah, in Chulam we'll get there, that it's only noyeg by Yerech HaYemonis. How do you know it's only Yerech HaYemonis? Because it's HaYerech. What's HaYerech with a Hey HaYediyah? Ham Yumenes Shebeyarech, the Choshev HaYerech, which is the right side. Hachanami HaMashiach, so to over here, when it says Kohen HaMashiach, HaMiyumen Shebemeshuchem, which means the Kohen HaGodol, which is the Miyumen, the most Choshev of all the Meshuchem, not the Meshuach Melchama. Amar Mashiach, Yochel Melech, you just told me that if it just would have said Mashiach, I would have thought it might be a Melech. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean Melech? Melech Paru Damaisi. How could you tell me that it would have been a Melech? Melech Paru Damaisi, Saru Damaisi. Melech doesn't bring a par. The parish of Mashiach is talking about a par. How could you have a havim in it to say it's Melech? The Nasi brings a sor, not a par. Says the word Yitzrich. Salta Yitzchak that Chemin al Shigi Gasmaisa. Yavi sor. Al Helam Dover Yavi par. Kamash Malon. I would have said, it depends. If the Melech only had a Shigi Gasmaisa, then that's the parsha of a sor. And if there's a Helam Dover before the Shigi Gasmaisa, that's the parsha of Mashiach, and he brings a par. Says the Gemara. We'll learn in the Mishnah. Ein bei Mashiach b'shem HaMishcha, between the Kohen Gadol that's Meruba b'Gadim and the Kohen HaGadol that's Mashiach b'shem HaMishcha, the difference is the par habal kol ha-mitzvahs. Gemara says, Masnis and the Loik Reb Meir. The Itan Meir, Hatanya, Meruba Gadol, maybe par kol habal kol ha-mitzvahs, David Reb Meir, v'loid l'chachamim. Reb Meir definitely argues, he says, even by his Sheni, the Kohen Gadol who was anointed, who was inaugurated with the Meruba b'Gadim, just by the clothing that he put on, he also brings a par when he makes a mistake. Shigas Hira and Shigas Maisa. My time did Meir. How does the Meir know that? Even though he's not Mashiach, Shteitach Kohen Mashiach, he doesn't have the Shem and Mishcha. Says the Gemara, the Tanya, we learned the Braisa. Mashiach ain't the Mashiach b'Shem and Mishcha. Meruba b'Gadim and Ayin. How does the Meir know that even if a Kohen Gadol doesn't have the Shem and Mishcha, he's only Meruba b'Gadim, he also brings a par. Tamad Loimer HaKoyen HaMashiach. The word Kohen is extra. So Rabbi Meir says, HaKoyen, really it's any Kohen. HaMashiach is the one that's Mashiach. It's Marbe Kohen Gadol, it's Meruba b'Gadim. B'mai Kimte, Fredi Gemara. So what are you going to say? Our Mishnah is not Rabbi Meir, it's the Rabbanon. B'mai Kimte, our Mishnah has to be the Rabbanon, because the Mishnah is Mechalik between Kohen Meruba b'Gadim and Kohen Mashiach. Asks the Gemara, how could it be the Rabbanon? Name a Seifel. The Hemshech of the Mishnah doesn't stem. Ein ben Kohen Mishamesh, le Kohen Sha'ovar. Yes, the Kohen Mishamesh is the Kohen Gadol that you removed from service when a tumah happened, a keri happened, and then you replaced him with a temporary kohen, with a sgan, and then he came back, right? So the one who came back, chazer la'avodato. So this is a Yuma. So here we have a kohen meshamish, which means he came back. Meshamish means now he is returned to his original post. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Mumover. Yeah, exactly. L'koyin she'avar. What's the l'koyin meshamish? L'koyin she'avar. Yeah. Elo par yom mikipur masira se'efes. The koyin she'avar, the temporary koyin, the sgan who served, he can be'etzim do all the avodas the koyin gadol, the koyin meshamish does. So even when he's removed again, because he was only temporary, he could still do all the avodas that the koyin gadol does. Only two that he cannot do is the yom kippurim, the par of yom kippur, masira se'ef, and the minchas chavitin that the koyin gadol brings every day. So the Gemara says, Asan l'Rabbi Meir. The Tanya, this must be Reb Meir. In other words, the Seifa of the Mishnah, of our Mishnah, that you just established like the Rabbanan, has to come out like Reb Meir. The Tanya, either by Psul, by Kohen Gadol. Let's say the Kohen Gadol. Something happened, Va'ovar, and they removed him. Eminu Kohen Nachar Tachtav. Horishin Choyzer Lavedasai. So when the first Kohen Gadol becomes Tahir, or it's a Mum Over, like you said, he's returned to his original post. V'asheni, Kol Mitzvahs Kuhuna Olav. He can do whatever the Kohen Gadol does. Divrei Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yosef Merisha Choyz Lavadasa v'Sheni Ein Roi Loi LeKohen Gadol v'Loi LeKohen Hadid. You can't do anything anymore. Yeah, why not? The Gemara is going to say in a moment. Amr Rabbi Yosef Ma'aseh Yosef and Elam Etzipayri She'ira by Psul b'Kohen Gadol. He replaced the Kohen Gadol. This guy Yosef and Elam. Yeah, Imenuhu Tachtav. They appointed him instead of the original Kohen Gadol. Abba Ma'aseh L'Nechachamim. After the Rishon came back, they asked, "What do you do with Eis Yosef and Elam?" Amru Rishon Choyz Lavadasa Sheni Ein Roi Lo LeKohen Gadol Lo LeKohen Hadid. Why not? Kohen Gadol Mishum Eva, Kohen Hadid Mishum Malam HaKodesh Emeridin. Right? You cannot leave him there as the Kohen Gadol once the Rishon is tahir, because then the Rishon is going to hate him. He's going to hate him. What do you mean? You took over my job? I temporarily left. Yeah. A lot of times you have it in sports where a starter gets injured. They put in a sixth man, and the sixth man proves himself to be better than the starter. Yeah, a lot of times, I remember when I was a kid watching the Knicks. Yeah, there's a guy, Jeremy. Yeah, you remember, they put him in, and he exploded on the Knicks. And they put him in a starter, and the original guy never returned as a starter. So what happened? There's Ava. There's a tremendous jealousy. Always, there's a hatred.
What's amazing, though, is they're from the Zera Aaron. And what's the meat of Aaron?
Okay, Oyev Shalom. Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling.
But at the same time, Kahanim Kapdonim him. That's why they have a Get Mekusha. So you have also they're quick to anger. בטח, זה לא פשוט. Yeah. So b'kitzur ha'maisa, Misham Eva, we don't leave him as Kohen Gadol. We return it to the first guy. Okay, so why can it be a kohen hedyot? Mishum malav hakodesh ve'im meridin. Because the halacha is, once you reach such a high level of kahuna gedola, we're not going to drop you back down to a kohen hedyot. So therefore, you're stuck and you can't do really anything. That's Rabbi Yossi's shita. So the Gemara says, Al Kalpanim, who is the seif in our Mishnah that says that the kohen sheni, the temporary kohen gadol, can still do any avoida that the original kohen gadol did after the temporary kohen is removed because you give it back to the original guy? That's Rabbi Meir, right? That's Rabbi Meir. So asks the Gemara, Reisha Rabbanon v'Sefer Rabbi Meir. So how could the Reisha be Rabbanon in the same Mishnah and Sefer as Rabbi Meir? Nachmal. Why is the Reisha the Rabbanon? Because the Reisha says that it's only Kohen HaMashiach and not Kohen HaMeruba b'Begadim. The par is only a din in Kohen HaMashiach b'Shem HaMushcha. That's only the Rabbanon, not Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is Cholik, and in the Sefer it's Rabbi Meir. So the Gemara doesn't like to have the same Mishnah. Yeah, Reisha Rabbanon v'Sefer Rabbi Meir. Yeah. They removed it because he had tziras. Yeah. Nachon. Gemara says, Amar Rav Chizda and Reish Rabban of Sefer Meir. Yeah, sometimes the Mishnah can have two different Tanoim that are Cholkim, and so you can have the Reish Rabban of Sefer Meir. If Yosef Amar Rabbi, Yosef says you don't have to say that the same Mishnah is two different Tanoim. It could be one Tana, Rabbi. Right? Rabbi is the one who compiled, who redacted the Mishnah. V'nasiv la'alibet Tanoim says some Mishnayos he held like one Tana with regard to one halacha, and he held like another Tana with regard to a different halacha. So it's really one Tana, which is Rabbi, but he held like the different Tanoim in these two different halachas. Rav Amar is Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi held like Rabbi Meir in only one halacha, and the halacha of the Kohen Gadol, the temporary Kohen Gadol, can still do any avodah that the original Kohen Gadol does. Yeah.
Now this temporary Kohen Gadol became Gadol for a week.
Okay.
Then you return the other Kohen Gadol to his, is a Kohen Gadol. Now you said that this Kohen Mashiach. You said this lieutenant Kohen Gadol.
Yep.
You cannot now make him a Kohen Hedyot.
Nachon.
He's like in limbo.
Yep.
Can he marry an almana? No, he's like,
Oh.
So wait a second.
We're gonna talk about that. Let's see.
So you stuck him.
Yeah.
You cannot do this, you cannot do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So what's the benefit?
Between a rock and a hard place. Yeah.
So I don't want to be. If I was a Kohen, I don't want to be a Kohen.
Okay. Nachon.
You're going to stuck me.
You have a good time. Let's see what the Gemara says. The Gemara is going to talk about that. Yeah, the Gemara says Rav Yosef Amar Rabbi V'Nosel B'Yotanai. Rav Amar Reb Shimoni. We're going to get to Reb Shimon. I think Reb Shimon is going to address what's bothering you, Reb Shaul. Rav Amar Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says, V'Sovla K'Remei B'Chad Palag Le B'Chad. Reb Shimon himself, who is the Tan of our Mishnah, holds in the Sefer like Rabbi Meir. But Palag Le B'Chad, then he holds not like Rabbi Meir in the Reisha. That the par is only for the Kohen Gadol of Shuch Shem and Mishcha, not for Ruba B'Gadim. The Tanya, learn the Braisa. Devarim Shebein Kohen Gadol Kohen Hedyot Elohim. What are the chilukim between a Kohen Gadol and a Kohen Hedyot? Okay, here we go. Para Bo'al Kol HaMitzvahs, or Para Yom Kippurim V'Asira Se'efa. Three of them. Right now, Para Helam Dover, Para Bo'al Kol HaMitzvahs is only for a Kohen Gadol, that's Meshuch Shem Meshcha. Also, Para Yom Kippurim is the only Kohen Gadol can be makar of that. V'Asira Se'efa, Minchas Chavitan, every day. Loi Perdei, he can't take a haircut, can't let his hair grow. V'Loi Poidim, he can't tear his clothing for a mace. Avlu Poidim Milamato. But he can tear it, sheloi kederech avelim, which is on the bottom. We'll see soon what the bottom means. V'ahedyet milamayla, and the hedyet tears it usually with derech kriya, for avelim is lamayla. V'ein metamel kroivim, he's not allowed to be metamel kroivim, it's only for a kohen gadol. A metzuva al b'sula, you can only marry a b'sula. V'aser b'almon is also b'almonim. Achzer seretzeach. If he dies, the retzech comes home from the armiklat. Or makriv oinen, the kohen gadol can be makriv, even on the day that one of the shiva kroivim died, and he's mechuyev l'chayr to be misabel on them. Still, he can be makriv as he's an oinen. Even though he's makriv as oinen, but he doesn't eat the kachem when he's an oinen, right? The einay chaylik, and he doesn't split the kachem, kind of to eat it at night, right? The makriv chaylik barosh, and he gets first choice to be makriv whatever carbon he wants. He's the first person. He gets first choice, first dibs on any of the matnaskuna, on any of the chalukas kachem. A mishamish b'shmayne kelim, and he asked him mishamish with shmayne begadim v'chalavidis you could ksheir elaboy upatur al tumas migdash v'kedashav. And Reb Shimon famously holds, we learned Daf Tesam Advez, Reb Shimon holds that a kohen gadol is patur from a tumas carbon oil of a yored, but tumas mikra kadashav. Okay, we had a drush over there. V'kulan noyegen b'meruba begadim. Oh, now the Brisa continues with Das Reb Shimon that avada all of these is also noyeg not just by kohen gadol Mashiach b'shem HaMeshcha, but it's also by kohen gadol meruba begadim. Chutz mipar haba al kol mitzvahs, except for bar par al mitzvahs, that's only noyeg by kohen Mashiach b'vad, like our Mishnah. Yeah, that's the ratio of our Mishnah. V'kula noyegen b'Mashiach sha'avar chutz mipar yom kippur b'asiru se'efa. V'kula noyegen b'Mashiach melchama chutz m'chamish dvarim amurim b'parsha le'perei v'le'poidim yemetav l'kroivim u'metzuva l'psula v'oser ba'almana. Okay. U'machzer asar itzeach divrei Rabbi Yehuda v'chama yomei machzer. So machlokes whether the Mashiach melchama is equal to the kohen gadol, whether he's also machzer itzeach when he dies. Okay. So here we go. So this Baraisa, L'chayra, has all the ingredients to match with our Mishnah, because the Baraisa clearly says the chiluk with the kohen gadol, hamashur b'shem HaMishcha, and a kohen gadol meruba b'begadim with regard to the par, which is the ratio of our Mishnah, and it also gives us the chiluk, the second chiluk that we had, which is that that the kohen l'sha'avar, the kohen l'sha'avar can do whatever the kohen gadol does, except for the Par Yom Kippurim Asira Se'efa. So Reb Shimon can be our Mishnah. We found a Tana to match our Mishnah. Asks the Gemara of Haimi Maid Reb Shimon, how do you know this Bryce is Reb Shimon? Doesn't say anywhere Reb Shimon's name. How did you know to put Reb Shimon's name on this Bryce? Rav Papa, I know for one reason and one reason only, because man shamet like the Omer Potter al Tumas Misha Kadashav. Which Tana holds that a kohen gadol is Potter from an oil of a yored by Tumas Misha Kadashav? Reb Shimon. So you know from there that's the giveaway. The giveaway in this brisa that it's Reb Shimon is the fact that it says that kohen gadol is Potter from Tumas Misha Kadashav. Reb Shimon is the only one who holds like that. So I know it's Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon, what were you saying? Sorry. Okay. Zug the Gemara. Chutz machavisha dvarim amurim beparsha. Okay. So here we have that. The Mashiach Melchama, right? He has 5 halachas that are Amurim Beparsha, yeah, that he has like the Kohen Gadol. Says the Gemara, Manan Mili. How do I know that in these 5 halachas, a Mashiach Melchama is similar, is equal to a Kohen Gadol? Shom Shem Neshcha. Ton Rabbanan. Kohen Gadol Mechav Kohen Gadol Asher Yitzchak Hashem Shem Neshcha Mashiach Melchama. Oh, so Mamela. I know that Mashiach Melchama is mentioned in that parsha. So on all of these 3, whether it's Mashiach b'shem HaMishcha, Mashiach Melchama, or Meruba begadim, it says Roisha lo yifra, a begadav lo yifra. He can't let his hair grow, can't tear his clothing in a maze. So you see that these 3 halachas, meaning tumas maze, right? You can't let your hair grow, you can't tear kriya, and you can't be matami yourself in a maze, even if it's shivas kravim. So you see that all these halachas are also said by Mashiach Melchama. Yochel yokula makriv and einanim. I would have thought that they can also be makriv a carbon when they're einanim like the kohen gadol. Tamad loimer no kinezer shemen mishchas elikov olav leil chaveiroi. That's only that kohen gadol. It's Mashiach b'shem HaMishcha and not a Mashiach Melchama. Maybe he also doesn't have to marry Raka Psula. Talmud Leimer v'hu Isha b'Psalei Yikach v'hu is extra. So that is Marba Meshuach Melchama. Okay, very interesting. Ketanoi. What do you see? Chamisha Dvarim? I'm only seeing 4. What do you see the Chamisha? I see you can't leave your hair long, you can't grow your hair, you can't tear your clothing, you can't be matama l'kroivim, and what else? And you cannot marry an almana, you have to marry a basula. Isra almana and asay of basula. These are 2. Okay. What is this? Ketanoi. Says the Gemara, this, if Meshuach Melchama is like a kohen gadol, with regard to marrying a psula, is really machlekas tanav. Who is a b'salei yikach? Achas shechalak hakosov riba. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. After the Torah was mechalik by aninos. יש כזה סיפורים שגדולי הדור נפטרו והגדול הדור. כן, אלמונה, אני לא זוכר בדיוק. כן. אני חושב Av echad lo yechol almona shel kohen. We learned in Sanhedrin. We learned the almona of a melech. The almona of a melech, asur. You're not allowed to marry the almona of a melech, right? By kohen gadol, I don't remember.
Could not divorce Bathsheba.
Because he felt that nobody else could marry her.
No one would marry her, so she would be left.
That's right. So therefore,
She could have been left Kaduna.
Because they kept nudging David and Melech
to divorce her.
That was a constant reminder.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Psst. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a maisa. You know, the Ribnitzer Rebbe was married to a woman for 50 years. A woman. He was actually, long story, he was divorced from his first marriage. His wife couldn't. No, his wife couldn't appreciate, let's just use the word appreciate, his level of Kedusha. And so, anyways, she divorced him. Then he got remarried. And the woman that he remarried in a second marriage, he's married 3 times. 50 years. And she couldn't get Tahira. And he can never have children. So they said, why don't you divorce her, marry somebody else? Says, to hurt the feelings of Abbas Yisrael, I should initiate it. I should divorce her because she can't have children. He couldn't. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Yeah, he couldn't do his level.
After 10 years.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. It's these are G'day L'Olam.
Chaim married a woman who was older, 10 years older than him. Because he felt achmas for her.
Yeah.
I know a couple here. After 10 years, they tried no kids.
Yeah.
Decided to get divorced.
Yeah.
They got divorced. They both got married. They both got kids.
They both had kids. They just couldn't have kids with each other.
Yeah.
They weren't meant for each other.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you say, huh? Tikunim. They had to be married. That's it. Ketanoi. So the Gemara is machlekes Tanoi whether Mashuach Milchama is similar to a kohen gadol with regard to marrying a psula. Torah says v'usha psula yikach akash cholak akosov. After Torah differentiated between Mashuach Milchama and kohen gadol with regard to being makriv ba'aninus, riba. It was marba with the word vahu divrei b'shmol, and now he's similar to a kohen gadol with regard to marrying a psula. Rekiva Omer, ainli ela sha'avar machmas kiryai. I only know this from a kohen gadol's over machmas kiryai that kohen never lost his maila and he's chayiv b'chol mitzvahs kohuna gedola even though he is off duty. Yeah. So the Gemara says machmas mumin minayin. How do I know if it's a mum that's einoy over? And he's never going to return to the avodah. How do I know that he's also mitzvah lapsuli? He never loses the kedusha of kohen gadol. Tamid loimer vahu. So the vahu is not talking about Mashuach Milchama b'chlal. It's used for another drasha. It's used for the drasha of a kohen gadol that was nifsal machmas mumoy. He doesn't lose the status of kohen gadol with regard to the halach of marrying a psula. Your case. What about a kohen gadol that was Mashuach b'shem mishcha that became a mitzayra and they had to remove him? What happens? Ma'u ba'almana. Can he marry almana? Mid chadachi. Once he's removed from the Kohuna Gedola, so now he's nitche from all the mitzvahs of Kohuna Gedola and he's allowed to marry an almana. Or mifter potter. No, he's only potter for a temporary period of time until. Sorry, the other way. Bid chadachi. Maybe the Kohuna Gedola was matchim legami from the heter almana. Or mifter potter is potter from.
This was not my question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Was not my question.
Okay, that wasn't your question.
The question before is the Kohen, the Sgan Kohen, that was a Kohen.
Yeah.
He became a Kohen Gadol.
Yeah.
Okay, Kohen Gadol cannot marry an Alman, only Besula, right?
Right, and then he's removed.
Then he's removed. Isn't his status now? He cannot marry him an Alman now.
Yeah.
It's only Betula. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the previous Gemara. We just learned that. That's the Katanoi. That's the Machlekes. Yeah, this is what Rabbi Akiva was saying. We learned from Vahu. Vahu is marba, a kohen gadol that was removed from kohen gadol. He's never going to come back. He still has the status.
Something else. I'm talking about
The sgan. The filling.
Remember,
the filler.
The filler is illegal now.
He said there's only 2 differences between the scan and the kohen gadol.
Because it cannot be a diot. It cannot be a diot anymore.
It can't be. So since
Is it mutar ba'almana or not mutar ba'almana?
No, because
Since he's the status of a Kohen Gadol, regarding Kohen Almana or not?
Yeah.
It seems like he retains just
He
like
retains
a Kohen
everything.
Gadol, because the Mishnah makes a point of according to Mashiach Muhammad, there's 5 differences.
Yeah, I know.
So if it was the same thing by Skan Kohen,
What happened to substitute? To substitute Kohen.
Right. Right.
Status.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a thought.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Okay, yeah. Weiter. Do we say, okay, the way I see at the bottom of it, Taisa Rosh explains it like I explained it originally. Mitchedachi means, is the pshat that once he's nitche from the kahuna gedoyla, so now it's only a dechia, and he still has kedusha on him, and yeah, he can't marry an almana. And Mifta Potter, now he's Potter from all the chiyuvim of Kohen Gadol. Lehava biyad, they didn't have the tshuva. Zimna v'yasser Rav Papa come b'boile. So one time, Rav Papa was sitting there, and he asked him the shaila, Amalei huna b'red nachmal Rav Papa tanina. It's a brayso. Ainli elo sha'ov har machmas kiryai. Yeah? Over machmas mumen menayin, tamad leimer v'hu. Even if he's over machmas mumoy, he's also osir ba'almon, and he has to marry Besula. So he says, mamash before Shabraisa, that he cannot do it. Come, nashke beroishay, v'yovle brate. He took him as a son-in-law. He says, wow. Not just kissed him. He gave his daughter to him. V'yovle brate. He gave him his daughter. It's unbelievable. The Chazanish and Amunah B'tachan, they bring down over here. He says, take a look at the Avas HaTorah that Rav Papa had. He was burning with Avas HaTorah. He had a shaila, and somebody came and gave him a teretz and showed him a brisa. Finally, he says, I love you. I want you as my son-in-law. That was the incredible Avas HaTorah.
What you would, nowadays, what you would do is, a Kohen that married a Grusha. Can you give?
Hey, you have over there.
Can you give
Okay,
a
Horayos.
Rishon?
Yeah.
And he has to do Chag because it's a mitzvah.
Yeah.
This is a Kohen.
Okay.
Whether it's not, you cannot take the Kohuna because it's a Kohen.
Okay.
If he married a Grusha, he will have to do Chag. But can you allow him to go Rishon to the Teshuvah?
no, that's a big.
That's a good shaila. That's a good shaila.
Most posting will be
Pastor. If you marry the Grusha, but I know, maybe I'm wrong, but I know for Duchan, to Duchan, he has to.
Oh yeah.
Because he's a Kohen.
Uh-huh.
It's not.
Some shuls,
Some should not go
the
there anymore.
Yoel will ask him to step out.
Really?
You mean if he's married to a
Grusha.
yeah.
They'll ask him to step out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Mishnah. Kohen Gadol, we're up to the Mishnah with Beis Amid Beis. Kohen Gadol poidim elamata v'ahedyet milamayla.
It's not a halal.
It's not a chava, he's like a.
Your base.
With Beis Amid Beis, the Mishnah. Kohen Gadol poidim elamata v'ahedyet milamayla. Yeah, so Kohen Gadol, we said when he tears kriya, he tears to the bottom. V'ahedyet milamayla, and the hedyet tears on top. Kohen Gadol makir v'oinen v'lo yoichel. Kohen Gadol, even on the day that one of his relatives died, can bring a carbon, but he can't eat from the carbon. V'ahedyet loy makir v'lo yoichel. Omar Rav, what's lamata, what's lamayla? Lamata mamish, which means on the bottom of his clothing. The bottom mamish, the bottom by his feet. Lamayla mamish by his neck. Shmuel amar lamata v'kame safa, lamayla v'kame safa. Yeah?
Okay.
So it means lamayla mekame safa means right over here, the collar mamish, and lamata means under the collar, which means over here. So they're both on top.
So it's no.
So a regular guy would go lamayla all the way from here and tear down the whole thing. The Kohen Gadol would go lamata. He wouldn't tear the collar. He would tear the middle. He would take a needle or some scissor. He would make a hole.
Scissor, something.
Yeah, and he would just tear it from here. Lamata mikame safa. That's machlokes Rav and Shmuel. When we say lamata by Kohen Gadol, does it mean mamash lamata by his feet, or does it mean lamata underneath the collar? So the Gemara says, yeah. Shmuel lamata gadol mikame zeb savra. Meisavel kol meisim kol rotzam madel kame safa shloi.
רש"י אומר למטה ממש בצבא, בשפה, במפתח חלוקו.
Where are you?
או שהוא אומר שלנו בשפת חלוקו. שפה למטה. למטה ממש, שלנו בשפת חלוקו, או למעלה ממש.
Yes, Sfas Chaluk, that's Rav. Rav says lamata mamish, lamay mamish. And Shmuel says, Mekam Sofer Lamayla Masafer. So the Gemara says, Mesave, I'll call it Mesim Kul Ratzim Mavdil Kam Sofer Shaloi Ratzim Mavdil Kam Sofer Shaloi. Says, by Mesim, a regular guy can decide to tear Kriya however he wants, whether it's Lamayla or Lamata, which means what? It means Bekam Mesafe or Lamata Mesafe. Al Aviv, yeah. Al Aviv Lima Mavdil, yeah, Kivin de Ba'alma, sorry, 1 second. Let me. Al Aviv al Ima Mavdil. He always has to do it. He has to do it Kamei Safa. So in other words, if you want to tear for anybody else, let's say a sister or a brother, you have to sit shiva for. So there you could tear Lamaila Mekamei Safa or Lamata Mekamei Safa. When it's for your parents, somebody's parents, then you have to always tear from the top here. So what do you see over here in this brisa? Kivan the Ba'alma Havikara. So since with regard to other mason, the brises matter you to tear either lamayla min asafa or lamata min asafa. So you see that's called a regular kriya. So how could Shmuel allow a kohen gadol to tear lamata min asafa if everybody else can tear lamata min asafa for shar mason? So the Gemara says, krikan begadav lo yifram. That would be an isser of kriya, which is allowed by a kohen gadol, because that's how people usually do it. The brisa allows people to do it like that. Says the Gemara, Shmuel Rabbi Yehuda Svirle. Shmuel was like Rabbi Yehuda. The Choyle he's Choyle Kenarkam. The Omar Kol Kresh Eina Mavdol Sofa Shaloi Eina Ela Keresh Al Tiflis. He says even for Shar Mason, you always have to go from here. You can't just take a knife like you said and tear it from over here. So therefore, since when you tear it from here, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not a kriya. It's a kriya Shal Tiflis. It's a shtus. So therefore, Kohen Gadol is mutter to do it from here because that's not the conventional kriya. Asks the Gemara, Misla Rabbi Yehuda kriya b'Kohen Gadol. Does he hold that kriya b'Kohen Gadol is mutter b'chlal? V'tanya ilu nema roish lo yifra ubeged lo yifra imisa ayma b'roish ubeged shal soita kasam adaber. I would have thought we're dealing with a kohen hedyet that usually tears the clothing of a soita. We're not talking about a kohen gadol b'chlal. Talmud loimer es roish lo yifra v'gadol lo yifraim she'ena b'friya prima kol ikar divid Rabbi Yehuda, that a kohen gadol is never allowed to do any form, any shape of kriya b'chlal. So how can you tell me Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda? If you hold like Rabbi Yehuda, you got to go to like Yehuda all the way. Rabbi Yehuda says never ever do kriya, and Shmuel says a kohen gadol can do a kriya lamata mesafa. So Gemara says Rabbi Shmuel loimer einay poidem kedech shmei adam poidem lamata vedim lamayla. Shmuel said like Rabbi Yehuda b'chada upalag lebechada. You're right. He only holds like Rabbi Yehuda b'chada, which is that lamata mesafa, it's not a kriya at all. That's why kohen gadol is allowed to do it. He doesn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda that a kohen gadol doesn't tear kriya at all. He says he's allowed to tear kriya in a way where it's not a derech shel kriya. Okay, so the Mishnah at the bottom of Yehuda Beis and the Beis. Kol tadir mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi. Gewalt. The Mishnah 5 lines at the bottom of the Beis and the Beis. Kol tadir mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi. What's tadir? What's the most tadir thing in our lives? Daf yomi. Daf yomi is tadir. Tadir. Kol tadir mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi. Rabbi say, we are koidem because we are committed to the daf. It's every single day. Daf never sleeps. Kol tadir mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi. Okay, so you have two mitzvahs. Yeah, you have two mitzvahs. So which one comes first? If you have two mitzvahs, then the halacha is the mitzvah that's tadir comes first. In other words, you have a mitzvah to make a carbon tamid every day in the Beis Hamikdash. You have a mitzvah of a carbon musaf on Shabbos or Yom Tiv. Which carbon should you make first? The Mishnah Zvachim, we'll see it in Zvachim Yetz Hashem. That tadir is always kaidem l'she'enai tadir. Absolutely, comes to Kriyas HaTorah. If you have two mitzvahs, and one mitzvah has more kedusha than the other mitzvah, then avada, the mitzvah with more kedusha, wins out the mitzvah. Yeah. Aha.
Shel Rosh or Shel Yad?
Over there it says, it's a great question.
Yeah.
But there the pasuk kshartim la'ois al yudecha, vayula tetofas bein einecha. So the Torah exactly, puts it. Right. Yeah. But either way.
This is a guy by Mishnah, by the way.
Oh yeah. It's a Gabbai Mishnah. Of course. But how do you decide kol ha'mekudesh mechaveiroi? Who's holier? How do you decide kol ha'mekudesh mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi? Right. The Gemara deals with lamashal zrikas dam of chata, zrikas dam and oila. Yeah. Which one has more kedusha? Which one goes first? Which zrika goes first? Yeah. So that's a whole sugya.
Again, an ola or a
chatas. So Gemara says kol ha'mekudesh mechaveiroi koidem es chaveiroi. What about par Mashiach or par Eido oimdim? What if you have a par Mashiach or a koy Mashiach and the Para and Davar Shal Tzibur that stay, both are standing there like Krava, right? Para Mashiach Koidim La Para Eda, B'chol Masav, that's Exeris HaKosim. Exeris HaKosim. Oh. Okay, yeah. Well, we see Exeris HaKosim on that. Menon Emili. So the Gemara, how do I know Tadir is Koidim L'She'ena Tadir? It says by the Karbonis Musafim of Pesach, it says, when you makriv the Karbonis of Pesach, you should makriv it milvad Oilas HaBoiker, Ashel Oilas HaTamid. Yeah? So Gemara says, Michdi Ksiv Oilas HaBoiker. So when he says Oilas HaBoiker, Oilas Tamid Lamali, why is Oilas HaTamid? Says the Torah, Hachi Kamer Rachmana, call the Tadira Kadma. I'm telling you why Oilas HaBoiker is first, because it's Tadir. How do I know that whoever is holier gets first? The Torah, the Beit Bishmal, the Kidashto, it says by Kohen. You should sanctify the Kohen, Ki es lechem alekechu makriv kodesh yalach. Which means? Well, Chatas and Oilo, you did? It's Tamid is Tadir. Tadir, yeah, because you do every day. No, it's Tadir, Rak Tadir. Ben Abam, yeah, every day.
Every day, twice a day.
Right.
Why is it called Talmud? Because it's Talmud.
It's regular, yes. Yeah, better.
Even though it's not Talmud, because it's Talmud, it's called.
Yeah. Okay, weiter. So the Gemara, how do I know that whoever is more Mekudesh is first? The Torah says by Kahana v'Kidashtoi. It's a mitzvah say to be Mekadesh a Kohen. In other words, l'chol dover shebikdusha, give him, be mechaberim l'chol dover, l'ftayach rishon, the first aliyah, l'barach rishon, benching, little money yafa rishon, right? When they're choylik, zimun, yes, l'varach rishon, zimun, the little money yafa rishon, and to give him a better, give him first. I guess when you cut the challah, give the kohen first. Whatever the money is, you always give the kohen first.
I had Rabbi Kamnetsky in the telephone by benching.
Ooh, it's a rough one.
They were arguing who should bench.
Each one wanted to give the other one.
So,
Rabbi Kamensky and who?
is a lady,
Uh-huh.
and Rabbi Kamnetsky is a brother.
Uh-huh.
So they were arguing back and forth.
Yeah.
I took the cup, I put it between them.
Good for you. You know, they say the Getter Rebbe, the Vishnitzer Rebbe, once walking into a simcha.
Yeah.
So each one stood there by the door arguing that the other one should go first.
Right.
So the Vishnitzer Rebbe said to the Getter Rebbe, "Steht doch in Pasuk, v'haftem es hager." You have to love the Getter. So you should go. So the Getter Rebbe said, "No, you're reading it wrong. V'haftem es hager. You should love the hager. Hager is the Vishnitzer Rebbe's last name."
Right.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, we have only such machloikas in Am Yisrael, right?
And who else?
Rabbi Kamnetsky, Rabbi Kamnetsky.
Okay, Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Eida.
He's a lady.
No, he's a lady.
Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Eida, Menon Emili. How do I know? Yeah, we're mamish top of Yud Gimel Amid Aleph. Okay, Chavi, we gotta go weiter. Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Eida.
Where are you?
First line, first word of Yud Gimel Amid Aleph. It's as easy.
Right.
Okay, Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Kohen Mashiach, Par Eida. If you have the Par Kohen Mashiach, he made a mistake. Shigigas Seirah, Shigigas Ma'asav of the Kohen Gadol. You have the Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur, Sanhedrin made a mistake, and everybody followed. So which one goes first? How do I know the Par Kohen Mashiach goes first? The Tanur Rabban of Asara for Yisrael Shuvas Par Rishon. It says by Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur. Right in the Torah, if you look in the Torah, the Parshias, we spoke about it. The Parshias in the Torah, the way it's organized is the Par Kohen Mashiach comes before the Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur. Unlike the Masechta Horayos, right, which is the opposite. The first parak is Hoyru Bezdin, Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur, and then Hoyru Kohen Mashiach, which is after. We have to know why. But in the Torah, Parshas Vayikra, first is Par Kohen Mashiach, and then it's Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur. And then when it says Par Al Davar Shal Tzibur, it says burn it like Par Harishon. Like you do to the Kohen Mashiach in the previous parsha. What's Matamad Loimer? Why does it say Pararishon? Harishon. She'erishon Kohen la Paraida b'chol Masav. Always put the Par Kohen Mashiach first. And what's pshat? We're gonna bring it down right now. Tan Rabbana. Why Taka did the Torah say the Kohen Mashiach goes first? Par Kohen Mashiach Paraida Paraim, then Par Kohen Mashiach Paraida b'chol Masav. You know why? Hoyu Mashiach mechaper. The Kohen Gadol's job is to be mechaper for Klal Yisrael.
Right.
So first be mechaper on the Kohen. Yeah, first purify the mechaper. Ve'ei the miskaperes. So dinu shiyag the mechaper the miskaper. V'cheinu oimer. Also by Yom Kippur we say first the Kohen Gadol is makra of his own par. V'chipper ba'adoy avad beisoy, and then uva'ad kol kahal Yisrael. Says the Gemara Palash al Tzibur Kohen LaParash al Chavim. If Klal Yisrael, let's say, did two averis, Sanhedrin led them astray in two different averis. One with chaylev, it's a regular par, and one with the zar, which is a par and a soyer. So now you have, from the tzibur itself, you have two parim. One is for the chaylev and one is for the zar. Which one comes first? Says the Gemara, you know which one comes first? the parallel medaber shel tzibur of the chaylev of shara averis comes before the avodas kichav. My timer says the Gemara, hay chatos v'hay oila. The part of the shara averis of chaylev is a chatos, and the part of avodas zara is an oila because you also bring a soir, which is a chatos. So the power is an oil over there. If a Tanya, and we learned in a brisa, like the carbon oil of a yored, the chatos and the oil of an oni, which one comes first? The hikrev as chatos l'rishayna. Matam eloyma and malam shei chatos l'rishayna kvenem as sheni yasa oil kamishpat. Elazeh bona av shiu kol chatos koidmes l'oil saboy simoim. That any time you have a chatos and an oil together, and you want to choose which one to bring first, kaimelon that chatos comes first. Dafilu chatos oif kodemes l'oilas behema. That a chatas ha'oif, which is a tiny bird, but it's a chatas, that comes before the tzoin, the keves of a behema, the power of a behema.
Which is what? What type of? No, I know but the behema is what? An ola?
Oila.
Okay.
Yeah. So the chatas always comes before the oila. So the Gemara says, "Par v'ritzcham kodem l'sor v'ritzchavim." When you bring again the parsha of a tzibur bringing a carbon when Sanhedrin told them they could do avodah zarah. Right? What's the halacha? We learned. When did it happen in history? Right? We saw that. It happened in history when they came back with Ezra. They had to bring 12 parim, right? And they brought it for the people before the Churban that did avodah zarah. So they brought a par and a sar. So which one comes first? The par or the sar? Which one do you makar first? The Gemara says, par is before the sar, but it's chav. The Gemara says, why? Amai. Hai chatas vayoli. You just told me chatas before an oila. The sar is a chatas. The par is an oila. So why do you bring the par first? It says lachatas without an aleph. Ksiv. Aha. Add an aleph is telling you that this chatas isn't as important as other chatois, and it's not koidem to the oila in this case. Rav Omer kamishpat. It says the word kamishpat. Ksiv bei. So the Torah is saying the way I wrote it in the Torah, that's the order of how you should bring it. And since in the Torah the soyer, the oila, and the par comes before the oila. The par is first before the soyer. That's why in this case the oila is before the chatas. So, but it's chom kaidem l'soyer nasi. Yeah, the way it's written, the way the Torah is writing it. So that's where the par is first, even though it's an oila. What about a it's chom kaidem l'soyer shal nasi? Yeah, let's say you have a melech. He doesn't have aveira. He has to bring in a soyer. You have the soyer of a tzibur that comes with a par. By avodas kchavim. So which one comes first? Avada the soyer of the tzibur. My timer. Hay tzibur v'hay yachid. Tzibur comes before a yachid. Right? They say Rabbi Yaakov Konetsky was once riding in a car. The person was driving him wanted to cut off a bus. Yeah.
What says the car cut off a bus?
The guy who was driving him wanted to cut off a bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was going slow.
Right.
Says asur hay tzibur v'hay yachid. You can't cut off a tzibur. The tzibur goes first. Yeah. They were both pulling out, and he just said, "Don't cut it off." Okay. Sorry, nasi kod nasiris yachid. My timer. Hay melech v'hay hedyet. If you have a seira. Right, the chatas of a regular guy is a she goat, a seira, and the chatas of a melech is a soyer, a he goat. Who goes first? The melech, obviously. Hi melech v'ayadit. Seiras yachid kedemas lekifsas yachid. What if by a chatas? Very interesting, right? If a person eats chaylev, you and I eat chaylev by mistake. You decide to bring a keves, I bring a soyer. Who comes first? Right? You can bring either one, seira or a kifsa. So everyone come to Beis Hamikdash, right? So we're both bringing a chatas. There are two options of what a chatas could be: a kifsa, right, a sheep, a female sheep, or a she goat. So I brought the she goat, you brought the female sheep. So even though maybe you're chashuv and you're older, no, says the Torah.
Thank you.
Says the Torah, seiras yachid keves lekivsas yachid. The seira goes first. Always the soyer goes before the keves. Vatanya kivsas yachid keves yachid. I will learn the hepech. I'm Rabbi Tanoihi. It's machlekes tanoim. Marsav the seira difa that a seira is more chashuv, right? Because you see she can esrapse it over this chav biyachid. Because you see that who brings a she goat? When does a person have to bring a she goat? When he does a iser shoygig by avodah zarah, biyachid, a yachid we're talking about. So he brings a seira. So you see that the Torah prescribed the seira for such a chet chamer by avodah zarah for a yachid. So obviously, seira is more chashuv. It's more chashuv than a keves, so it comes first. Umar Savar, no, the other Tana holds, and the other Brisa kifsadi for the keves is more chashuv. Why? Shekeda ba'alya. The alya, the tail, is the fattest part of the animal. And what happens by a keves? A keves, it goes on the mizbeach. The alya has to go on the mizbeach. So you see that a keves is more chashuv. So that's why it comes first. Oimer koydem la keves abla imoy. The oimer. right? You bring a keves together with the oimer. So which one are you makar first, the mincha of the oimer or the keves that comes with the oimer? Also, shtei alechem. Koid l'kvasim abam imam. You bring shtei alechem on Shavuos, right? So it comes with the kvasim. So you have to do the shtei alechem. You have to be makar that first. Zaklal. Why is the oimer before the keves and the shtei alechem before the kvasim? Zaklal. Kol dover abo begin layoim. Koidem ladover abo begin lechem. Because the oimer, the trigger, the mechayev for the oimer is the day after Pesach. Yeah, memachros. The Yom HaShabbos, that's the mechayev. The keves is only, the mechayev of the keves is the oimer. So we always want to put first the chiyuv of the yom before the chiyuv of whatever carbon you bring then. So the keves is a chiyuv that the oimer is mechayev, and the oimer is a chiyuv that the yom is mechayev, and the same as shtei alechem. So the Eilige Mishnah, ish koidem leisha. Yeah, a man comes before a woman.
This is the tshuva.
Lahachiyos. Yeah. Uh-huh.
What? Who? What?
Female comes first.
What?
Goyim have this shugur before.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the difference
Yes.
in Kodesh L'chol.
Yeah. Okay, now Lamaisa, why is a man, if you want to support a male or a female, a man or a woman, which one gets supported first so they can prolong life? Always the man. Why? Because the man is mechuyev in all the mitzvahs. A woman is only mechuyev in partial mitzvahs. Mitzvah shesh azman groma. So you always want to prolong life. You want to always prioritize the one who's mechuyev in more mitzvahs. Allah Hashem Aveda.
By Rusha, it's not the case. Because we don't want the women to be...
Oh, we'll see in a moment. The Mishnah is going to say. Mishnah is going to say.
The son's Yerush, but they're mechuyev to. I mean, there's a chiyuv to support the mother and the sisters, right?
Yeah, but that's supposed to go knocking on the doors.
Right, exactly.
Okay, Lahashav Aveda. The halacha is that, if somebody needs to return an Aveda, he sees two Avedas. One belongs to a woman, the other belongs to a man. Which one should he pick up? He could only be Isaac in one. He should always return Avedas Ish first before Avedas Isha. Okay? If you have clothing that you want to, you only have one beged, yeah. She's her humiliation is a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But also, if you want to take them out from this is an important one. You have men and women in captivity. Who do you take out first?
Women.
Says the Mishnah, women. Why? Because they're going to violate them.
Right.
Yeah. If there's a chashash, they're going to violate the men too. That avada ish koidem leisha. Why? Because for an isha, aderech shelas. It's not as painful because it's natural.
Wow.
So whatever they're going to do, it's going to be in a natural oifen. But mishkav zacher is unnatural. It's connected the teva of a person. Therefore, you want to prioritize the man. What if he, his father, and his rebbe were all in captivity? He has enough money to release one, to free one. Who goes first?
Again,
himself.
Before
his rebbe.
father and his rebbe.
He comes before his rebbe, and his rebbe comes before his father. Again, why? Because his rebbe is maviyah l'chayah l'mabah. His father is only maviyah l'chayah l'mazeh. Imai, his mother, she's a woman. A woman? Yeah, she's at risk of being violated. She always comes first when it comes to Pidyon Shvuyim. Chacham koydem l'melech Yisrael. Chacham atalmid chacham comes before the melech. Chacham shemeis. Why? Chacham atalmid chacham eilon kiyotze boy. He's irreplaceable. A melech Yisrael shemeis. Kol Yisrael lamachas. Right? We're bnei melachim. Yeah, you can be a melech. I can be a melech. Everybody can be a melech here. Yeah, you know the Golda Meir said to Nixon, the famous line.
The what?
Golda Meir.
Oh yeah.
Said to Nixon. You know that line? So Nixon says. Prime Minister, you're only the Prime Minister of a country with 2 million citizens. I'm a president of a country with 200 million people.
Right.
He says, you're wrong, Mr. President. You're a president of 200 million citizens. I'm a Prime Minister of 2 million Prime Ministers. Verstehst? Everybody, every year is a Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So every year is Ru'uyim L'malchus. Melech koydem l'koyin godel shenemar. It says when David HaMelech was Matzava to Tzaddik HaKoyen and Gadol and Nasan HaNavi to go and anoint Shlomo HaMelech by the Mayin HaGichoin, he called them Avdei Adoinechem, which means that David is the master of Tzaddik, Kohen Gadol, and Nasan HaNavi, which means the Melech comes first. Yeah, the Melech is before the Kohen Gadol and the Navi. And Kohen Gadol, Kohen Navi, Shenem, Moshe Chayes Sham Tzaddik, Kohen Nasan HaNavi, Higdem Tzaddik Nasan. You see the Kohen Gadol before the Nasan HaNavi. The Omer Shmano Yeshua Hatkoyin hagodoil ataverecha yochla dioita soyu tamaloi v'kan shmeifes heimo.
Wait, again.
The ain
so
moifes el
what's the
navi.
sa-
One
what-
second. Shnema v'nosnach oisa moifes. So you see that the kohen gadol is mentioned before the neviim.
Okay.
And meshuach b'shem mishcha koydim l'ruba begadim. A kohen gadol. This is very interesting. A kohen gadol that was anointed with the Shem and Mishcha is
Right.
before the kohen gadol l'ruba begadim.
Of course.
Which is very interesting because how would you have two people in the same era? One is Meshuach b'Shem and Mishcha, one is Meruba begadim.
Father
We
and
said
son.
Bayis Rishon, Bayis Sheni. They weren't
Right.
around at the same time.
Right.
So you have to say that this is in the time of Yeshayahu HaMelech. Let's say it's only one time in history.
18 years.
The last 13 years. Yeah, before it was before they. So there it was one kohen gadol that had the Shem and Mishcha, one didn't. Okay, Meshuach Mishcha b'Shem Mishcha Kol Begadim, Meruba Begadim Kol Meshuach Sha'aver Machmaskiria, Meshuach Sha'aver Machmaskiria Kol Machmas Mumay, Aver Machmas Kol Meshuach Macham, Meshuach Kol Nazgan, Zgan Kol Markel, Ma Markel Mechizda Makula, a Markel Koidem, like Gizber Kol Resh Mishma Kol Resh Av, Resh Bezav Kol Kohen Hedyet. Okay, we'll stop over here, but this is the Seder of the order of who comes first. Okay.
It's no game, by the way, by Shalshut. When you have guests and you have
You have to know. צריכים לדעת, yeah.
כהן קודם. או אלא אם כן יש לך תלמיד חכם גדול בשולחן.
Shem Abraham.